Bench Opinions. Three idiots with amateur analysis.
The three amigos.
Back in action. Back on the
again.
couch.
Back on the couch. We got Dom back.
I must say, 1 week of not being allowed to tell the world my opinions and people watch it is 1 week too many.
Did you really not tell anyone your opinions?
No, like on camera. Actually, though, that's also
Not
a lie.
recorded.
But yeah, it's good to be back, boys. You held down the fort, though. Highest ever viewership. Maybe it says something about me.
No. We're on the up now. It was the Michael Jordan flu game with me being sick, but now Klaus is sick.
It was the caption. I think it was a lot to be said for the caption of not the caption, what's it called? The title of the video. Springboks beat England.
Oh.
I think that guy gained some traction.
Got under the skin there.
Yeah.
What's that guy called that makes those ridiculous statements? I think he's more on
Donald Trump.
Am I trying to pander to some sort of...
What are you
that
talking
guy
about?
who makes those ridiculous rugby statements always about South Africa.
Oh, Kieran.
There we go.
Oh, yeah.
Reggie's best friend.
And so Mr. Ben Smith, we were talking about him.
Yeah, he's also hectic.
I did
But he's
see
from
him
New
say,
Zealand.
we'll get into this, but I did see him say that he thinks it's right that Peter Steff, Logic won, that Peter Steff won the player of the year. What a wanker.
Ben Smith said that.
Yeah.
But not
Who's
Ben
that
Smith,
again?
the rugby player. Ben Smith,
No,
the
Ben
South
Smith, the
columnist from New Zealand.
the
Works
C,
for
the,
Rugby
the,
Pass.
the,
I assumed it wasn't Ben Smith, the rugby player.
no, the C-list fucking Twitterer there on X.
The Twitterer on X.
He
Yeah,
says he
he's a
lives
twat.
rent-free in South Africa's
Yeah, dude.
South African mines.
We were talking about
didn't even
this.
know
We
who it
were,
was.
we were talking about this off just privately, and it's just I was like, this guy's built his whole career on bitching about the Springboks. Don't know if that's a good look.
What was that guy? Who was that guy who in the 2019 World Cup? Do you remember when we lost to New Zealand in the first game and he made a video mocking the Springboks, even though he's South African,
That Afrikaans guy, yeah.
and he got torn to shreds? I think he got like death threats. or
Yeah, no,
something.
that was a
Didn't
bit
he-
too much. Yeah.
And then
Didn't
he,
also burned his jersey.
I don't know if he burned his
no,
jersey.
well, he was
no.
definitely in an
What
All
is
Blacks jersey in the video.
Was his name not Johan?
Johan was his name, yes. Yeah.
I can't
And then at
remember
the end,
what his
he had to come out and like apologize and like say that it was only a joke so that people would leave him alone. That's hectic. Anyways, how was your weekend, Klaus? We haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, I mean, my weekend was good. I was back in the UK, back in Southend. Well, not back in Southend, but in Southend.
Filming cars.
If anybody watches us from Southend, it's a bit of a shithole, to be quite honest with you. It's not a really
Southend,
nice-
not London. It's somewhere else.
The Southend is like an hour away from London.
Okay.
Harbour Town or beach town, seafront town, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, we were there filming two really, really interesting, really cool guys who do spec fabricated handmade motorbikes, but like ridiculously cool, starting at like 30k all the way up to like 180,000 pounds for these motorbikes. I can show you some pictures later. Unbelievable, and their stories are really interesting. Came from Kosovo during the war, or the unrest war, whatever you like to define it as, and they built this company in Southend and doing really well for themselves, and got all sorts of crazy clients like Chloe Moret, the actress, Gordon Ramsay.
No idea who that is.
who
Gordon
is
Ramsay,
that?
I know.
Who's
Chloe Moret. What was that movie she was in? Blonde girl, maybe like 21 years
Blonde.
old. No, not Reese Witherspoon. I can't remember what movie she was in. But
So someone told you Chloe Moret and you said, yeah, and now you don't know who she is
if I
either.
show you both a photo of her, you'll be like, that one. Yeah, I know.
Okay.
her. Yeah,
Right.
And she's a motorbicyclist or what?
motorbicyclist. Yes,
An organ donor.
in the words of our friend's dad. Yes, correct.
Okay.
That's what
Okay.
she is. Yeah, but really interesting guys. Had it actually, even like their story was really interesting. The story that I got told by the guy who was pushing me in the wheelchair today.
Oh, God.
No, this shit was unreal. So he is
On the British side or on the German side?
on the British side.
Yeah, I was going to say, the German guy didn't tell you any stories.
No. I
Told you to shut up and he'll be with you in a
I
second.
actually just went by crutches, and then I got into a wheelchair, and then obviously in BR the elevators don't work currently, so then I had to climb 2 flights of stairs anyway. Anyway, that was a different story. This guy, I think his name is Simon Ollie. He's pushing.
You guys on two, like first and second name basis.
Yeah, 100%, bro.
Hectic.
Why is he two first names as a first name and surname?
Well, this is where the interesting story comes in. So he tells us he's Swedish, lived in Liberia because at the time in Liberia there was a lot of Swedish miners, and like his parents were part of the mining industry. But there was, I don't know, when was this? It must have been like 60s or something like that, and war broke out.
Yeah, one of the 467 civil wars that have been in Liberia since 1950.
Exactly. And I don't know which group, but they came down from the north, and his parents weren't there at the time. They were, I don't know, in the mines or something like that, or at some sort of conference. And he essentially had like it was kind of their gardener, but also like a nanny that was looking after him. He was 6 years old. And these rebels or warlords came down and just killed everybody in the town. And he was the only survivor of this town. And the only reason he survived is because this caretaker of his hid him in a bathroom. And the caretaker actually sort of sacrificed himself, and this guy survived. 6 years old. That's how old he was. Lived 3 days he had to survive. He said he had to take out some guys. I know what your opinion is going to be already.
I mean, I'm not laughing at this guy's story. I just wonder, this is a dude who pushed you to the airplane.
Yeah.
How the hell did you guys get onto this subject?
Dude, I'm an inquisitive guy. I ask some questions and this guy starts off like, anyway, so has to survive for 3 days with the gun that he found. Had to take out some guys at the age of 6, which is mind-boggling in the first place. Get saved by US Marines. Then they get shot down. Then they get airlifted again in a helicopter.
Plausible.
Gets all the way to the airbase, and then they're like, "Oh, he's got fair hair. He must be Swedish." They ship him out to Sweden. Then he's in Sweden for 6 months, and they're like, "Where are your parents?" I was like, "Oh, I don't know. Maybe they did." Back then, didn't have Facebook to contact his parents.
You couldn't mark yourself safe
So
on Facebook.
No, you couldn't mark yourself safe on Facebook. And then eventually they give him a Swedish passport, and they're like, "Okay, cool, you're now Swedish." And they gave him a new name, and that's where the name that comes from, Simon or
So he
Ollie.
didn't find his parents.
Didn't
ever
find
again.
his parents. Like eventually they did. I think like after a year.
And he wasn't Swedish.
I think he was Swedish.
Oh,
But
so
it was
they
like
saw a blonde kid and were like, "You're Swedish." You would have been Swedish as well.
racial profile.
I think they would have put you in the Dutch camp because of your height.
maybe.
Did he mention General Butt Naked to you?
No.
There's a well, everyone is interested in Liberia, as you are clearly. There's a very interesting documentary about a general called General Butt Naked, and his whole thing was that him and his rebels would run into towns butt naked, and that was the way they fought because they believed if they were naked they couldn't get shot or killed.
This all seems like a lot. Klaus, it's not that I say I don't 100% believe you, but it sounds very intense. And I know you...
Are you saying I made up the story?
No,
or
no,
are you
no,
saying,
no.
like,
I said
I've
he
found-
made up
Oh,
the story.
Okay.
And I know you're like a sponge.
I reckon there's
Oh,
one
man.
too many airplanes and choppers in that story. Everybody down!
Because I feel like if they had gotten shot down, they literally made a movie about that. It's called Black Hawk Down. So they would have
Yeah.
made a movie about this one as well.
Well,
Has he written a book?
I think multiple helicopters have been shot down, and I don't think there's.
Or like the first
I don't think
Prince of Stockholm.
I don't think every helicopter has got its own movie.
I'm pretty sure it does in America.
But anyway, so now he's a veteran as well, and gets veteran benefits because he's considered a Marine who got shot
Was your
down
f-
in action.
Was your
Dude,
Klaus, bro,
I
this
was,
is not
I was
true.
thinking, I was like, this is wild.
was your flight delayed? Oh, this seems like a fucking lot of time that this man
This
had.
guy-
He did have to push me all the way to the opposite side of the terminal, go down
You
the
see, this-
elevator, and then go all the way back.
This guy has wanted to tell that story to someone who wouldn't run away for so long, and he had you trapped in his wheelchair.
I couldn't, yeah.
You couldn't leave, and you were just sitting there going, "Wow, do you know how I know you're gullible?" Or
So you're saying the story is not true?
no,
I think he's,
definitely not true.
I think he's.
Simon Ollie, if you ever watch this, please reach out to us.
That's actually a good point. You should be using this to tell people about our podcast and not listen to made up stories about other people's lives.
On the way out, I was like, by the way, listen to Bench Opinions.
I told Dom the story already. I came into our living room the other day, and Klaus was looking at his phone, really puzzled. And I'm like, "What's up, Klaus?" And he's like,
I know what story this is.
I got this weird message from this dude who says, "Hey, is this someone's son's number, eh? What was the message that you
I
got?
don't remember what. I don't know.
Is this Andre's son or something like that?
Yeah.
And then you were like, no. And then the guy messaged back and was like, first of all, that you replied to that first message is already wild to me because no one ever replies to those. You reply, you say no. Then the guy writes back, oh, my lazy assistant must have given me the wrong number. And then you get into a full-blown conversation with this dude who's like, I see your numbers from Germany. That's very interesting. And you're like, yeah, I live in Berlin. And then,
I didn't tell them I live in Berlin.
okay, good. Because
I just said I live in Germany.
because when I got in and you were looking at it so puzzled, you were like, I don't know what I should reply to this. And I was like, stop replying to this guy, Klaus.
Your commitment to politeness, Klaus, is
It's unmatched.
Okay, first of all, I didn't say I don't know what to reply to this guy. I'd stopped replying at that point. The thing that was weird is this guy kept on he's like, okay, so where should I visit in Germany? And I was like, dude, I've asked you 5 times who your assistant is because I want to know how you got my number. And you're being really vague about it. And like, I'm going to end the conversation here. And then they're very polite and said, okay, bye.
all right.
No harm, no foul.
Little did he know that if he just started telling you a story about how he was kidnapped in the Amazon at the age of 4, he would have had you hook, line, and sinker.
I'm surprised you haven't given a large amount of summer money to some prince in Nigeria.
Dude. I think everybody gets a lot of spam messages and, hi, can you help me out, blah, blah, blah. I have engaged with a lot of people.
Okay, but now...
But I find it, sometimes you have a nice conversation with somebody. No, I'm joking.
This is what 6 weeks on crutches does to people.
That's very exciting.
I get bored.
Today's your last day with your moon boot on.
Yeah, very exciting. I think you're very excited. Don't have to do my shopping. I can start setting up the lights again. But I am a little bit nervous about the procedure. It is a wire that's stuck halfway down my foot, and they just go at it with a pair of pliers and give it a good tug.
I reckon he just pointed something, look, and then it's gone out.
I kind of want to film it.
Oui. And then he's going to involuntarily show it to people again. Would you like to see how they did it? No.
Yeah.
Milking it.
Look at me playing rugby. Oh, shit. No, sorry. That was actually a different video.
I mean, film it. Film it. I would say film it.
Do you want to see it?
Possibly on a good day.
Because I don't think there's blood or anything. I think it's just...
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about that.
Things like that creep me out. I don't know if I want to see it, but film it.
Film
I'm
it.
sure you'll find someone who wants to see it.
You probably don't want to see it. I'll show you anyway.
Yeah, and there'll definitely be some girl who you can impress with that video.
I don't know if I'm impressing a girl with that kind of video. I don't know if that's the kind of girl I want to impress.
Speaking of, hold on, one last thing that's besides sport. Talking about blood and gore and fucked up shit. Have you guys heard about the movie The Substance? With Demi Moore?
Yeah, but I haven't seen it.
I watched it yesterday. It is the most fucked up thing I've ever seen in my life.
Why?
Like,
Give us like a
this. Do you want? I mean,
2-minute rundown.
Spoiler alerts or
Is it a new movie?
You've
it's
alerted
a new
it.
movie? Yeah.
Oh, with Demi Moore.
Yeah. So it's essentially about this lady who does like
It's Demi Moore.
She's 60.
I was thinking of Demi Lovato for a second there. I was like, oh, she's young.
No, don't say she, bro. Yeah. Anyway,
Apologies.
Demi Moore, she's like an TV aerobics person and is really famous, but she's on the twilight of her career. And she eventually gets shafted because she's too old. And then it sends her into a bit of a spiral, and she essentially gets into a car accident, goes to the doctor, and this nurse like weirdly touches her and then gives her this USB stick and says, this changed my life. And she first throws it away. It's all a little bit telegraphed. She throws it away, and then she's like, decides to fish it out the bin, sticks it in a television, and it's this whole thing about like this substance that you can go get. And then anyway, so she goes and she gets the substance, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's a little bit like, like Click, where you can fast forward and like, rewind and
Great movie.
Play with
Very sad movie.
Very sad movie. That's a surprisingly good Adam Sandler movie. Anyway, but she proceeds to take it, and then she starts splitting in half, and this younger person comes out the back of her younger self. So now I'm already like, all right, okay. So we watch this, but essentially what happens is they have to switch every 7 days. And the young version of herself eventually actually auditions to have her old job, gets it, becomes this massive TV star, and this younger version of herself keeps pushing the date out for how long until she swaps. And what happens is that slowly she turns into this like older version of herself, but like really fucked up older version of herself. Like she creaks when she walks and all that kind of shit. And it becomes this battle between the two of them. And I'm still like, okay, I get the whole premise of like, fighting this, trying to be young, trying to do everything to be young, but you're actually just destroying and neglecting the real self. That's as far as I could get. Fast forward, this lady completely fucking abuses this thing. All of a sudden, this monster comes out of the bathroom after they eventually switch because she's forced to switch. The fucked up chick, the young one, manages to stay alive though, kind of kills the old Demi Moore, then uses the substance again, but it's one single use only, and the most fucked up monster you've ever seen in your life comes out, proceeds to like crash this TV show that this girl was supposed to host. And her arm kind of gets chopped off and she fucking sprays everyone with blood. The whole cinema is like swimming in blood. And then the movie ends.
A great cinematography, I've been told.
I mean, I don't know.
This is a new movie.
I spoke to a mate about it.
This sounds like, have you watched Nicolas Cage Face Off?
No, I can't watch anything with
with John Travolta.
Yeah, he trades faces with John Travolta, and suddenly the cop trades faces with the bad guy. It's also super deep.
But it's just
A lot of substance.
dude,
substance to that as well.
it's one of those things. I'm like, I can fuck with this, and then all of the last half an hour, I was like, what am I watching?
Can I recommend a movie to you which I watched this
Sure.
weekend? It's called The Mauritanian. It's really good.
Ooh, I've heard about it.
Yeah, it's
I've
about
heard about
that
it. It's
prisoner
about
who was-
the informant, right? Or he turns informant, doesn't he?
No, it's the guy who was on in Guantanamo, locked in Guantanamo for the longest without any proof.
Okay.
He was supposed to be the recruiter for 9/11, but they could never prove it, or they never proved it.
And he like builds a relationship with the guards and stuff like that, right? I think
Yeah.
I've heard about it.
It's a really good movie.
Okay, cool. Check it out.
Anyways, should we get to some sports? Bench Opinions, episode... Okay, Klaus.
16.
Okay, I thought you wanted to recommend a movie as well.
No. I was trying to think which episode we're on.
Episode 16.
1-6.
16. That has
Not
no
yet.
meaning.
We're still
Let's
far away
start
from
off with some rugby from the weekend. Let's start off with the box. Dom, we watched it together. SA versus Wales.
Yeah.
Relatively convincing.
Yeah. I mean, I think 9 times out of 10 we'd expect to beat Wales, I think, in most games. I think it's unbelievable anyway, the rugby teams that Wales has built regularly over the last, since professional rugby began, with the size of country they are. I am a little bit sad at the fact that there was a real sense of inevitability to it, and I think it really shone. I felt, particularly with the way I thought the Welsh, I never thought they had a chance of beating us, but I really expected them to at least try and come out and put up a bit of a fight. But we were 14 points or 12 points ahead in no time, which is quite disappointing. But really, really dominant performance. I felt Jordan Hendrickson had a good game with ball in hand. I think his kicking he's still not the answer. He's not the silver bullet, unfortunately, for that question. But I think with the way he plays the ball, if he can fix that part of his game, someone like Mani might be in trouble. But I have to special mention to, a lot of people talk about Cheslin Colby, but Kurtley Arendse is an absolute monster. I mean, I think we all know that, but he was unbelievable on the weekend.
Yeah, he did play very well. Did you watch the game, Klaus?
I didn't watch the game. I didn't.
Did you see the highlights?
I saw 1 or 2 clips.
Okay.
I saw that the lock pairing scored runaway tries. Not even just more tries, but like actually ran them in.
Yeah, good
So-
lines
and-
run by the boys. Yeah,
Sosa and Urban.
Yeah.
And then what else? What did I see that was quite interesting? Jordan Hendricks's one T kick. He like banana kicked it, but the wrong way. If like to make it more easier, he sort of like faded it from the left.
Yeah.
Like from kicking from the left.
Did you see
side
the
of
one
field.
where he almost hit the corner flag? He kicked one and it was
What,
so
a
far off.
penalty kick?
Yeah, no, a conversion. He kicked it so far right, it went towards the corner flag.
That's scary.
And I'm not going to sit here and be the only one who stands up for Mani, but I thought
Mani kicked better.
there needs to be some justice here because Mani at least gets your hopes up, goes in the general direction of the posts.
What was the brother pairing like? Because I'm not a fan of Jaden currently.
I have to say Jaden was better.
Yeah.
I mean, I think against weaker opposition, but he got to the ruck much quicker. I don't know if we just had quicker ball, but I felt he was better, and I felt he stepped up his game. I don't know if he's done enough, and I definitely think he hasn't done enough to keep Grant Williams out of the starting. If we had to play the All Blacks tomorrow and they said who's our best side, I think Grant Williams is still the number 9.
Yeah.
But he had a better game for sure.
Was there some sort of magic between the two brothers, or
There was one moment
Yeah.
where Jaden sort of did a little box kick over a ruck. We were about in their 22, and Jordan tried to run onto it, was about a meter too slow, and it bounced into him and it was knocked on, but he would have been through for a try. And that was sort of like a little telepathic move, but
Okay.
It was a
that
no look kick from Jaden as well, which is would have been very cool.
maybe if he looked, he wouldn't have kicked it so far. Then Jordan could have caught it.
This is true. Maybe if Jordan could kick, he would have caught it.
Generally, some better play, as Dom said. I mean, it's Wales. I think there was one player in our backline who had as many caps as their entire backline. I can't remember who it was, but they're just very inexperienced, the Welsh. There's so much building for them to do. Sia Khaleesi mentioned it after the game. He said they just have to keep their head down and work through it now, because they're in a terrible position now. They've lost for the first time, I think, since the 30s or something like that. They've lost all of the games in a calendar year. And the only game coming up for them, which they really need to win, which is realistic, is Italy in the Six Nations next year. And if they don't win that, it could be tough. But I mean, the problem is they play Ireland and Scotland away next year. They play England at home, I think. So that England game, I think if the Welsh haven't won, then I think that could be big.
Yeah.
what's the opinion on Gatland? Is it Gatland's lost the plot? He just doesn't know how to...
They're doing a review now.
I think they've snookered themselves a little bit though.
No, but I'm saying, what's your opinion?
Oh, he has to go. I think he has to go.
I'm with you that he has to go, but I don't think that there's no one else to take it, and I don't think they can afford to buy him out of his contract.
No, sure, but I think if we're just talking about performance, I think he would have to go. I'm also never someone that says don't get rid of a guy if just because there's no replacement. And I think what?
I think Klaus and I are just thinking back to your United days. And fair enough, not this time, but the past.
I'm just teasing.
Yeah, I just think for me, it makes no sense to keep him. I think, we're not talking about a string of bad results here. We're talking about a cold calendar year without a win. We're talking about 12 losses in a row. We're talking about losing to Fiji, who for big portions of the game played with a man down. I think it's a massive issue, and now you've got younger players that he's now reluctantly decided to start bleeding, because that's the big criticism of him as well, is that he's kind of just plodded along.
He came in after that. He came in after Wales had already lost all of their star players, and he's taken over with that new generation.
Gatland?
Yes.
Yeah. There was a gap in his tenure because
he first built the side, got them to third in the world, and then he came back in. Okay, fair enough. But I think there's been a lot of criticism though. Him generally, him sort of sticking to his old ways, not being a modern rugby coach. That's what I'm reading.
Was there something systemic going wrong in Wales?
I mean, I think Wales are just always going to struggle with the size of country and with their financial power to compete against. Anyone in that Six Nations pool. I mean, even if you look at Italy now, the benefit that they're having of URC rugby, I would argue that the Welsh teams are probably down at the bottom of the beneficiaries of the URC setup, because they just generally seem to be the whipping boys.
But if you compare Wales to a country like Ireland, where Ireland also doesn't have that many players.
I think Wales is smaller. I think
sure, Wales is smaller, but I might be completely wrong in saying this, but doesn't Ireland have more competing sports to make it more difficult to
rugby is
find?
I think rugby is the biggest sport in Ireland,
I
isn't
don't think it is. I think it's Gaelic football.
Well, I think it is.
Okay.
The thing is,
what do you think?
The thing is,
what is your opinion?
I think to define it is difficult. First of all, you have to remember that. First of all, you have to remember that Gaelic football and hurling are not professional sports. So that's the first point. So if anyone's looking to become professional, the only the biggest sport, professional sport in Ireland is rugby. I think that's hand down. I think the problem in Wales, for example, is that football is by a long way the biggest sport. And I think that is their issue, is how do you compete against that in a country that is already pretty low on resources, I would say. And even if you look, I think there's a lot of young Welsh rugby players that probably end up playing for England. Don't quote me on that. Or at least enter into the Welsh setup. He's smirking already. So
No, because I was wrong.
But yeah, I mean, we had this discussion when we were in Ireland earlier this year with one of the locals, and they said that those sports are bigger. But he did say that, I think one of the guys we were speaking to definitely mentioned that the fact that rugby is professional and that it's grown so much in popularity because of this Ireland team that's been so dominant over the last few years, it is noticeable to see how many good young players are being produced in Ireland because it's the only route to professional sport.
Mm-hmm.
Gaelic sports are the biggest. They count like a few of them under that, but like Dom said, it's not professional. France versus Argentina. I know you very bravely, even in the last podcast, predicted that Argentina might do it. They
Completely
didn't.
folded, huh?
Yeah, it was very similar, I think, to the week before, where they got off really slow in the first half and then tried to come back, played really well, but couldn't get over the line.
I can't wait to see that Ireland-France game in the Six Nations. Cannot wait to see it because I think it's going to be pretty colossal. I think the French are also low-key back. Not low-key back, but I think they've just... People so much talk about... There's always so much talk about Ireland and England, obviously, particularly in their own media as well. But I think arguably the best league in the world. One could argue the French league.
I think it is the most. I think players who play there say it's the most competitive league.
And I think that'll only put them in good stead moving forward. So I'm very interested to see that Ireland-France game moving forward.
Yeah, will be a big one. Anything to say for yourself for predicting Argentina would win?
Nervous laugh.
Well, I mean, I got it wrong. So, I mean, hand up accountability.
That's okay. You're a dreamer. We'll never tear you down for being a dreamer, Klaus.
Positivity killed the cat.
Scotland versus Australia. Big win for Scotland.
Big win for Scotland, yeah.
Did you think Australia was going to win?
I did think Australia was going to win.
So
I thought they could finally, be done with the boogeyman on their back and complete it. But
yeah, I think the Scottish are really good. And I was actually just listening to Ben Smith's. Is it Ben Smith? Yeah. Podcast.
Ben Young's.
For
the love of rugby.
Yeah. And he was talking about Scotland's attacking play versus England. Even though England played Japan, Scotland playing Australia, they still outplayed and out with all the stats were in Scotland's favor against a strong team like Australia. So they're really a very attacking team. And I think had Finn Russell played against us, I think it would have been a bit more of a challenge, even though...
What do you mean, had he played against us?
Did he play against us?
He didn't play in the week before.
There you have it.
But he played against us.
And we beat him with their best players on the field.
But if you look at that back line from Scotland, it is unreal.
Yeah. That centre pairing is it's right up there. Yeah.
The centre pairing, then you've got Duart van der Merwe, who's arguably not having his best season, but he's still an incredible player. Kinghorn in the back, unreal player. Finn Russell, one of the best 10s out there currently. And then you have Darcy Graham or you have Carl Steyn, depending on who's currently in form and not injured.
Yeah.
It's an incredible backline, and their rugby is very exciting.
It is.
Because of it.
I'm keen to see how they do in the Six Nations. I think they could be a little bit of a surprise package because I don't think Ireland is as good as they were. But like Dom said, I think France is very good.
I'll be supporting the Scots for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I want you to give me your ratings for teams that I asked you about for their Autumn Nations series. How do you think they did? Maybe like a ABC, A being good, B being so-so, C being a failure.
Okay.
Klaus? I think we'll leave South Africa out of it because I think we can all agree that 3 wins from 3, even though some of them were workmanlike, they're still as solid as you can be with more players blooded. Let's go for England first. Klaus?
Sorry, I was still stuck on South Africa because South Africa would have been like an A-. But we're not going to dwell on that. England.
They only won against Japan.
Yeah. They did only win against Japan.
I think they thought they were going to win 3 out of 4.
They had
1 out of 4.
They had 3 close ones. So I would give them... I'd give them a B.
Oh, I knew you would give them a B. Dom, did you listen to the podcast last week where he was defending Steve Borthwick and telling them that a 3rd place finish is not a failure?
I hope they think that way because they deserve to be there then.
Okay, why do you give them a B?
Because, pardon me, they played against tough opposition and the games were close and they show a lot of promise and I think they're not far off from clicking. And I think they are going to be dangerous.
I think I'd be interested to hear your thoughts after you listen to this Ben Young's podcast because he makes the point that they haven't progressed. He says that teams like Scotland have progressed, but if you look at the stats and the numbers for England performances, their attacking play is not good. It's not, they don't pass the ball enough, they don't break, they don't get over the gain line quick enough. Unless Marcus Smith does something amazing, they struggle.
For sure. Marcus Smith is an incredible player, and he brings a lot of X factor to their game. But then they're not far off in the sense that they are still pushing teams. I mean, they pushed us for a good long while. It wasn't looking that easy for us. I would say they arguably still pushed us the furthest in the 3 games that we played. And then on top of that, I think that if you consider... I actually just lost my train of thought.
Okay, but
No, look, I think I get what you're saying, Klaus, and that is, if they don't make what was a comedy of errors against the All Blacks and win that game towards the end, and also just keep Australia out towards the end and end up beating Australia. And I know this is if, buts, and maybes, but I think this is what, if you are maybe a glass half full kind of guy looking at England, which I definitely am not, but if you are, I think that's what you're holding on to. And I do get the sentiment that one could be sitting here talking about wins against Australia and New Zealand. I don't think they are good enough to have beaten us. I don't think that, and we still beat them by 9 points. And
we didn't play well.
No, exactly.
No, we played terribly. That's correct.
But I think it is. I think. I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and just give them my mark, if I may.
Go for it.
I think I would give them a C-. Only.
Yes,
Yeah.
the worst that you can get.
Yeah.
That's quite.
No, I would.
quite a difference
I think
there.
I would give them a C- only because I think. If you. My train of thought goes even further back into even the type of rugby that they played in the World Cup, which is very disruptive. They had a terrible World Cup in terms of play, but they managed to get to the semi-finals against us, played a very disruptive style of rugby, and I think that's continued. And I'm sure this is what I didn't listen to Ben Young's podcast, but I think this is probably what he's getting at, is that, you're not playing front foot rugby. You're not playing rugby that is attractive and expansive and is looking to beat the opposition. You're playing rugby that's trying to kind of smash and grab, I would almost describe it as. And I think that's why I would say, good gamble to take against New Zealand and Australia and even us to a certain degree, but it's a gamble that didn't pay off. And at the end of the day, and this is what I've always banged on about in football, for example, is results matter. And I think it's quite embarrassing for what they managed to achieve.
No ifs, no buts, no coconuts, Klaus.
Yeah.
Or like, what's that Italian TV chef who says, if my grandmother had wheels, she would have been a bicycle.
There we go. Sorry, I just remember what I was trying to say is that it was small margins, first of all. And I think the biggest downfall of the English team is their decision making. They made some dumb decisions throughout the autumn international series. And I think that's something that's coachable. I think that's, if you can train your players to make the right decisions, then I think it's an easier fix than
These are all Premiership players. They're the best players in England.
I know,
the best
but
players.
They can still make mistakes, and if their systems are set up incorrectly, they're going to
But
continue
who
making.
sets up their systems?
It's the coach.
Yeah. Okay. I also give them a C. I don't give them a C-, but I also don't think they had a great autumn series. Let's get on to, I think, Wales. We've also spoken about terrible. The fact that they lost to Fiji. How about Scotland?
A-. I think in comparison to where they were during the World Cup, it's definitely an improvement. In comparison to where they were again in the Six Nations this year, it's already an improvement. They're looking like a really dangerous side that, as Dominic said earlier on, is going to push the likes of an Ireland and the likes of a France in next year's Six Nations. So with that backline, and
Notice
then,
you didn't say England there.
Well, they don't need to push them; they're going to run them over. So.
There we go.
So yeah, if they can grind it out a bit more, I think that's where they struggle. If they can grind out, especially in the forwards, then they can let their backline run riot.
I feel for Scotland a little bit, only because I think they weren't given the same opportunity to shine in these autumn series with the games that they got. There was a Portugal in there. I think they played Fiji as well, didn't they?
But I think they do that on purpose. I think they don't. They like bleeding some young players and sort of giving because someone like Wales wouldn't have had this happen to them if they had done the same as Scotland.
Fair enough, yeah.
It just gives them momentum, wins under their belt.
True. I think maybe that's why. I mean, I'm leaning towards sort of a B+. I think a fair enough showing. I think they were okay against us for parts of the game, but I felt like it was still too easy in the end, to be honest. And good. I mean, I think I would love to. Let's do this again after the Six Nations, and hopefully I'm sitting here saying, giving them an A. But a solid performance. You can't really criticize them.
No, I'll also give them an A-. I thought they, especially against Australia, they really showed their attacking intent. I thought we really struggled against them, and it was because of their gameplay. So I'll also give them an A-. France, 3 wins from 3. I think very successful. They went through that dip in the Six Nations where everyone thought, okay, after the World Cup now they're done, but they're definitely back. And they're a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting with them is they're also playing with a different fly half. So that's new, Thomas Ramos. I mean, he's part of the system and he's been with them for years, but he's not playing fullback, he's playing fly half. Yeah. So it's a completely new position. Can he handle it? Can he not handle it? It seems like he can. So I'd give them a straight A. Not an A+, not an A-, but a straight A.
Yeah, I think I'll reserve probably my best mark for one of the other sides, but I'd also say probably an A. Yeah.
I mean, you can give multiple sides the same mark.
No, I just think, you can't be too many cooks in the kitchen.
All right.
I think Dominic's basing them all in relation to one another where they play.
I think the sad thing about France is that for their tour next year, where they could really show how good they really are, because the All Blacks, let's be honest, they're not at their best this year. They are getting better. That tour that they're taking to New Zealand, they're not going to send their best team because they're all still bound contractually to their franchises. I think that's really sad, because I think for the French to go down there with a full strength team, play a full series, that would have really been a good indication of where they really are. But
not to be.
Money talks. I'll also give them an A. Australia, an interesting one. Dom.
This is the team that I give full marks to, and I think because of where they've come from. I think for them to come up north, and I think also, again, it's outside of the results that they got. Of course, they lost to Scotland, to a very good Scotland performance, which happens. And I think it's also maybe the wind was a bit out of their sails. They got an early injury as well to their new outside centre that everyone's raving about, which I think cost them as well. But I think given where they've come from, obviously they got the win away against Argentina, but other than that, the Rugby Championship was an utter mess for them. And I think to come away, beat England at Twickenham is no mean feat, to stay in it for that long, and then also just really play some good rugby against a weak Welsh side. But I think for me, it's the sort of the resurgence of Australian rugby to a certain degree, particularly with an eye on that Lions tour. We spoke about, during these autumn series, we always sort of put our Southern Hemisphere cap on. I find it hard to support Australia or the All Blacks, but the North is quite loud, and for them to go up there and really show some good stuff is quite impressive. So I'll give them an A+. Sympathetically, but
just because they beat England,
just because they turned it around. Yeah.
Okay. Because they lost to Scotland and they lost to Ireland. Did they play Ireland?
Ireland, they're playing this week.
Who else did they lose to?
No one. They only lost to Scotland. They played England. They played Wales.
Oh, they played Wales. Sure, yeah. Sure.
And they ripped them to shreds.
Yeah.
Australia for me is a team that's they get the award for most improved. The award I often got. Never got the best player on the team or anything, but most improved. It was a very sympathetic. He tried his best.
Means last year you were shit.
Exactly. And
that's kind of what I gave them as well.
And in this year you were less shit than last year. I think the fact that they beat Wales doesn't really say much, because everybody's beating Wales. The whipping boys of international
Fiji's
rugby currently.
Wales.
Sorry?
Fiji's beating Wales.
Well, there you go. Most improved and obviously definitely a resurgence to be seen. The reason I would give them a higher mark than I would normally is because of that England game. The fact that they had a no-die attitude, and after the clock had run out, still managed to sort of put enough pressure on them to score a winning try, not even just a drop goal or a penalty kick or something like that, actually go and score a winning try, is definitely a change of scenery for them. So I'd give them just a flat B. I think beating England was a big one, beating Wales, not impressive, and then they lost to Scotland.
And we'll see what
quite
they do
significantly
to
lost to.
I'm actually quite excited for that Ireland-Australia game.
But is Ireland going to feel it's a strong team? Because there's also URC on this weekend, or the Irish team's not playing this weekend.
Is it not answer that question? But I think.
But Leinster might just not play their four sides.
When the South African teams missed the first week, maybe they miss. Maybe they get buys this week. No.
Potentially.
Leinster isn't playing. There you have it.
There you go. So the Irish team is fully stocked.
Well, no, maybe they're playing Friday. Yeah, they're playing Friday. Okay. So, a bummer that you're not playing Leinster this weekend, or Ireland are playing like a B team.
Who's playing? Lions.
No.
No. Who are you?
Welcome to the show.
Never mind.
I'm saying it's unlucky that none of our teams are playing Leinster this week,
Oh.
or Ireland are just playing a B team, and then you don't want to play Leinster.
Okay.
There you go.
Now I'm on the same page. Thank you.
And we're back.
and
Welcome to the studio.
maybe the last one to go through New Zealand.
They don't seem to have improved much or declined from where they were during the championship. They seem to have just stayed the same. Getting more game time under their belt, I guess. Maybe working on different combinations. I think Mackenzie is not the ideal 10 for them.
But he's in the world dream team.
Yeah, okay. I mean,
Bullshit.
the Rugby Awards is nonsense in its own right, but
All right, we're getting to that next. Hit us with your rating.
Okay, then B minus.
Yeah, I would say B minus as well. I think it almost could have been properly bad for them if they'd lost that game to England, which was in the English hands. So yeah, I think I think the alarm bells are ringing there a little bit. But I don't know. I don't think this tour of France coming down to them next year with a weakened side is going to do them any favors.
Do you think they're going to struggle against a weak French side?
No, I'm saying I don't think it's going to do them any favors to grow a team because you want your boys competing, and they're already struggling at a Super Rugby level to get the same levels they had during when the South African teams were still part of it. So I don't know. Let's see. They're going to have to build a side purely through good coaching and local rugby, and let's see if they can do that.
Yeah, out of the last 4 or 5 coaches, what's his name?
Steve Hansen.
No, the current one.
Scott Robertson.
Scott Robertson has the lowest win percentage and lowest amount of wins against the top 5 nations in his first year after 12 games. So they definitely need a bit more. Sam Cane's retiring.
He didn't take over a very strong team, right? So like when Fozzie took over from Steve Hansen, like that team was strong. So he at least had that momentum.
Yeah, that's true.
And Fozzie then kind of
took over the best team in the world.
Fozzie kind of dismantled the team and then gave it over to Scotty.
Strong opinion.
Yeah, well, it's kind of true.
Sam
That
Cane
being
is
said,
retiring,
They
and
did get to the World Cup final.
TJ Perenara, hey? They're both retired.
Oh, TJ's retired now.
Yeah.
I think TJ's going to. They both. I think they're going to both play overseas rugby. No. Yeah.
I'm not sure about Sam Cane, but
I think they're going to cash in. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Sam Cane already was retired. He came out of retirement for this, for the World Cup.
Let's get to the Rugby Awards that happened yesterday. Obviously, the merit of which we won't discuss. I think all of 3 of us agree that in a team sport, it's difficult to award individual awards. I want to hear your opinion on Best Player of the Year, which was won by Peter Steph du Toit. I got a message from my sister this morning who says, I'm not a rugby fan, but I don't understand how Cheslin Colby didn't win that. He seems like the much better athlete. So explain that to us, Klaus.
What does that mean? Because if you're going based off of points scored, yes, then Cheslin Colby is the much better athlete, but that's what his position is supposed to do. You got to look at the entire game and the jobs that the players have to do specific to their role. And I think that Peter Steph du Toit in World Rugby definitely ticks off all the boxes and then some, and definitely warrants at least a nomination, and now it seems also the win. And he's a workhorse. He's a very integral part of our setup, both in motivation and in inspiration and in just pure work ethic.
I think that's the problem, right? Exactly that. I think Peter Steph is comfortably the best flanker in the world. It's the same way Cheslin is probably comfortably the best winger in the world, and I think that's the difficulty in it. I do think Peter Steph, though, we talk about athleticism to get through the work that he gets through.
With his size.
Just with his size and his ability to influence the game that way, it's just unbelievable. I think he's also one of, you look at flankers often, and they often have a one strength that really stands out. I think that Peter Steph really ticks so many boxes, as you said, in terms of the diversity of, he used to be a lock, coming into that 7 position, being able to really catch at the line out at world-class level. He's great in the ruck. He tackles like an absolute machine. I think it's hard to see a chink in his armor, and I think that's why he wins prizes like he does, and it's no surprise that he wins it for the second time now as well. I think it's just a testament to how good of a complete rugby player he is.
And it doesn't take away from anything from the other nominees. I mean, Cheslin Colby is an incredible rugby player, and he's just as deserving. It could have gone either way. I mean, it could have even gone to Eben. I personally wouldn't have given it to Eben this year. I would have given it to him last year, if anything. But Cheslin would have been just as good as a winner.
I think for someone who's maybe new to the game of rugby, it's easier to see a player like Cheslin Colby and see what he is doing well. If you're new to the game of rugby, you don't necessarily see what a position like Peter Steffs does well, because it is more nuanced, and a lot of it is dirty work, and he just does that well.
The ball work. I mean, I think you said it last week that in football, the person who wins player of the year is usually a stormer, just purely based on
Striker.
sorry.
The Stormers deserve to win everything. You're right about that. But
Stormer.
we'll get to that later.
But sorry, a striker is usually the one to win because of goals, highlight reels. You know, that's where you get all the hype from, right? Never
Quickly
the prop.
regarding the team of the year, Ox made it, Malcolm made it, Eben, Peter Steff, our two centers, Damien and Jesse Creel, and then Cheslin Colby. Did I forget anyone?
No, I think
that's it.
Yeah.
A
I
very
haven't even
dominant,
seen the team.
a very dominant team. I think there's Kaylin Doris is in there, and
Jamison Gibson Park is
Jameson Gibbs Park, and
9.
James Lowe is in there.
Yeah,
then there's
and
an Argentinian in there.
Mackenzie at 10.
Mackenzie's at 10.
Mackenzie at 10.
Yeah.
That could have gone, I think, to Marcus Smith. I think he could feel hard done by if anyone cared.
100% Marcus Smith.
If anyone cared about these awards. And then maybe just quickly on Coach of the Year, which
Went to?
I think it went to the French Sevens coach.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it was their. It went to a Frenchman. I don't think it was them. I don't think it was their 15s
I
head
don't
coach.
think it would be. Yeah, bizarre decision. I don't understand that either.
Who was up for nomination?
Russie.
Rassi, I think.
Was Nina up for a nomination as well?
No, I don't think so. I think it was
I
Rassi.
think it was just that meme that we saw where they were laughing. But
and then the Scotland coach, I think I'm pretty sure was nominated. But I don't know. I don't see how anyone other than Rassi wins it. Sorry, I really don't. But it's good for the sevens coach. Also, DuPont won Sevens Player of the Year. He played 3 out of 11 tournaments.
when it
all
comes
year. So I don't know about that.
when it comes to the coach of the year, is it just head coach or assistant coaches?
yeah,
also?
head coach,
Okay.
head coach role.
Otherwise, the physio could also get nominated there.
No, that's not a coach.
I think everything on the coaching team is a coach.
Because I was just thinking about what Brown has done for us, Tony Brown. That could have then been an interesting nomination as well.
Yeah. So definitely some critical wins there. Not critical.
Controversial.
Let's go into some URC games that are happening this weekend. I'll run you through what's happening. Glasgow are playing Scarlets.
Glasgow dominated.
Ulster are playing Leinster.
Yeah, a good game, but I think Leinster too good.
Yeah, agreed.
Depending on who plays, be interesting. I didn't even know that there was another game happening, and it doesn't seem to be on many people's radar.
It's probably one of those games that's outside of the international window again, and then
But then, do you think Ireland are not going to send their strongest team?
I don't think. Well, Ireland's not like France. I think they will still give the game the respect it deserves.
Yeah.
And I think when you look at how much it costs to go to a game in Aviva Stadium, I don't think they can afford to send a B team.
I know they love their rugby rankings, so they definitely want to win this game.
It's also quite centrally controlled Irish rugby, very similar to the All Black system to a certain degree. And I think they probably would have had a plan going into it. So I think you'll probably see a mixed bag, but probably quite a few younger players as well. I don't think it'll be their first side, but yeah.
Their average age that started the last game was 27, so they've actually bled a lot of youngsters. They're not. I don't think anyone's on the same level as South Africa, but they're definitely making sure that they're not falling into the Wales trap.
Yeah, the youngest starting hooker, McCarthy, in 78 years for the Irish rugby.
How old is he?
I couldn't tell you, but I was quite shocked.
12.
I am 12.
And Prendergast, who started at 10.
He looks
Also
good.
Yeah,
Looks
definitely
good.
a lot of
I
confidence
think
running through
Crowley
him.
is going to be looking over his shoulder for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good for them. They've got good competition within the squad then.
Yeah. Big South African derby on Saturday. Sharks versus Stormers. Sasha's back.
Coastal derby.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be Stormers because I don't think the Sharks are going to have their Springboks back. And
And then they don't have a team.
and then they essentially don't have anything to go with.
I need to know for a fact who's playing.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
It's a tough one.
I don't think even someone like Sasha coming back, I don't think Sasha starts because I do think he's going to have a massive impact on the Stormers when he's back to full match fitness.
But do you think they're going to play him, man?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I
don't know if
to
it
keep him
maybe-
at inside center. I think.
I was thinking to myself that maybe it's time for Mani to try and develop himself at a different position,
But fullback.
or fullback or center, because
He's too small for center, I think.
is he that much smaller than Andre?
Andre Pollard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was it with you? We were sitting in Murrayfield, and I was like, "Hey, Dom, check Liverpool over there." And we're like, "Yes, he's got like twigs for legs, man."
Yeah, I don't know. Let's see.
It's true.
I worry for Mani, but I know you disagree.
Okay. Cardiff are playing Dragons, relatively unspectacular. Connacht play the Bulls.
Ooh, Bulls.
Yeah.
But in Ireland.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bulls.
Edinburgh play Benetton.
Edinburgh should win that game, you would think.
Ooh, your Lions are away to Munster.
Come on, lose.
Not
I can't even do it.
a great
I can't do it.
not a great Munster side though. It must be said so far this season. So let's
Munster's
see.
really been struggling.
They
yeah.
did chuck their coach out though, where he left. So let's see. Maybe that changed things up a little bit.
Yeah.
I think the Lions could do it.
And then in an absolute humdinger, Zebre play Ospreys.
Yeah.
Zebra.
What time is it? I'll be watching that.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, okay. Very exciting that URC is back. It's a tournament that you miss. And also the weekend after that, the European tournaments start, the Heineken Cup, the Challenge Cup. I think that'll be fun to watch as well, see how the South African teams do in that.
Well, how do you think the Bulls are going to do? Because I know Jake White doesn't give a damn about that competition.
I mean, I think the Sharks are actually playing really well this year when they have their Springboks, so wouldn't mind them being our main team in the Heineken Cup. And then I'd love to see if the Lions can carry over their form from the URC because they're playing really well.
Yeah.
And they've just had a lot of rest now.
Yeah, exactly. They haven't had much to do, so a lot of training, I guess, a lot of strength training and recuperation. So hopefully they're fighting strong.
Yeah. Right. Let's get into some football there.
Yay.
Here we go.
Klaus,
This is my favorite part of the night.
congratulations.
Yeah. Well
Hey?
done.
The Spurs.
Yeah. Do you know what happened?
They must have done something.
Yeah.
They beat Manchester City 4-0.
What? In Manchester.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. We were watching it with Wayne. He was...
Come on, boys. The Hearts Lane.
The Hearts Lane. Christ. Yeah, we'll start with that game though. Great win.
Yeah.
And just turmoil at City. Particularly after Pep announces that he's going to stay 2 more years, which surprised a lot of people. And then to go and get whacked like that at home. I'm interested to see how Pep responds because I don't think, it is the first time he's ever experienced anything like this. And, this is, it's a bit of a difficult time here. And, he's always coasted, not coasted a lot of clubs, but he's just used to winning. And I'm interested to see how he responds to this.
Did they field a B team? Or?
No, it's the best team they have. They have a lot of injuries.
Okay. So it's not the best team they have.
Funnily enough, a lot of the teams that he has beaten in the last few seasons, when it comes to the league title, have also gone through big injury crisis. So it's very much on him to show that he can deal with this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it a crisis, Klaus, for Pep?
Absolutely. I mean, that being said, we are a really solid team. So, like,
Pep coaches.
No.
I know, but I'm saying Tottenham.
You lost
The Spurs.
You lost to Ipswich though the week before.
Who's that? Nobody cares about that game. We're on the up and up, and so it could have gone either way. And this time it went our way.
4-0.
So it could have gone either way. I stand by that, and so Pep doesn't have to be worried because it's a tough opposition.
Right. So Pep's not in crisis. 8-point deficit to the team that is currently the greatest in the world, Liverpool.
In the world.
In the world. with the greatest.
world.
Who would have thought, though? Honestly, like that is crazy. And you, again, I've said it, and I'm going to say it again. You guys know how to win games, and you did it again against Southampton on yesterday. So nothing but praise, really. You can't say anything.
Are you going to win the league?
We are going to win the league, and I've said it, and I've said it for months, and I will be proven right. If we lose from here, it's going to be terrible.
Should we bet?
I will bet something big. I'll
Okay.
think of something. Yeah.
Okay. Think of something big.
I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready to get hurt again. I'll have to think of something, or you can think of something. Do you want humiliation, or do you want money, or do you want beer, or do you want food? What do you want to bet?
But
Are you betting against Liverpool?
If I make a bet with you, am I betting that? Do I have to specify which team will win?
No, it's
I just
literally if
bet against
Liverpool
you.
wins or doesn't win the league.
I'll think of something.
Okay.
I'm too scared. I don't know.
Yeah, because if I win,
you guys are doing too well.
because if I win, then it's you has to get spray tanned.
I'll buy you a shawarma.
A shawarma.
Just for our international guests who might not know where the donut is.
All right. Quickly on Liverpool's performance yesterday. We played Southampton bottom team on the log, and we struggled for a little bit. But it was also, I've never seen a team pack as many players in their own box. It was all 11 of them. There's
that behemoth up top, Anuachu.
He's like 6'4" something.
No,
like that.
6'7", dude. He's 2'3".
He's got such good ball control. It's crazy.
Yeah, he's a monster.
Yeah. Southampton don't play well. I think they need to be really worried. They refuse to kick the ball out long.
Yeah.
They keep trying to play out from the back, and their players aren't good enough. And as soon as they're under pressure, they give the ball away. And I think we definitely scored the first one from winning the ball back. And we had so many chances, and you can see the fans in the stadium are so desperate for them just to, when you're under pressure, just hoof the ball long.
You got to read the room. I mean, and again, that's the same thing. Like it's nice and well that you want to play this great brand of football, but look at, you're not going to, you need to win games to stay in the Premier League.
You need to, exactly. And I don't think any one of those Southampton fans this season needs to see them play beautiful football. I think they just want to stay up.
Yeah. And I think you can consolidate. You come up, consolidate. Yeah. And then you can talk about playing expansive, beautiful football. But yeah, it is strange. And I think it's also the clear signs of Russell Martin being in his first job as a manager. And, he entered the Southampton job, did really, really well. And I think fair play to him sticking to his guns, but you got to read the room.
Yeah. There was someone, I was watching the game and there was a co-commentator. I was watching in English, but there was a co-commentator and he's got a vendetta against Liverpool and I couldn't find out who it was. I was trying to Google him. I was going to
Find his
tweet at him.
address. Find his address, eh?
Oh, I'm not that hectic. And I'm not going to threaten him, but I'm just going to tell him on Twitter that I don't think he's a very good commentator.
You're not very nice.
You're not very neutral. There was a penalty decision that VAR checked, which was very borderline, given for Southampton. But yeah, overall, they managed to get through. They still haven't offered Mo Salah a new contract. And his contract's up at the end of the year.
And it's getting louder and louder around that as well.
He's
Amongst the
actually,
fans as well. Yeah, he came out
yesterday and said it's
aggressively,
December. He's a bit disappointed that he still hasn't been offered a contract. It's what a lot of people will say is the spine of our team. Trent Alexander-Arnold, Virgil van Dijk, and Mo Salah all have their contract running out at the end of the season. And for some reason, Liverpool are dragging their feet.
By the sounds of it, he wants to definitely stay.
Well, I mean, he's not even been made an offer. I think for him, he is at a point where I think he'll ask for more money because I think it's the last big deal that he's going to get before sort of either moving to Saudi Arabia and getting paid ludicrous amounts of money or like petering off in like a lower league.
He's still quite a good player, is he not?
He's one of the best players in the league.
So
Yeah.
wouldn't
But I
one
think
of the
if
other teams want to snatch him up?
He won't. I don't think he'll go to anything in the Premier League because I don't think anyone will pay him that amount of money at his age anymore. But he could, if he doesn't get offered a new deal, he leaves for free, which is that's a massive problem for Liverpool. It's the same with Trent Alexander-Arnold. Although Trent is from the Liverpool academy, if you lose him on a free to Real Madrid, that really that makes the club suffer because you can get, for Trent, you can probably get about 60 million, 70 million, if not more. And for Mo Salah, you'll still get about 40 million at his current age, and Virgil probably the same. So we'll see. That's the only thing that about Liverpool currently that makes me a bit worried. Ruben
Amorim. Yeah, it's a mouthful.
had his first game yesterday.
Yeah. Started really well.
Started very, very well.
yeah,
What, a
scored-
minute and a half?
Yeah, a minute and a half he scored the goal. To be honest, it's weird, but I'm glad we didn't smash them 5-0. I think that what you saw very clearly in that game what our issues are, even under his new system. And he came out after the game and was so honest. It's actually a little bit shocking. He basically did a blow by blow of each player and what they need to work on, and I found that very refreshing because I think protecting players unnecessarily is just doesn't get you anywhere. So there is a hope from my side that he seems to be the one coach that's come in and been like, okay, listen, people, we need this open heart surgery here. We need to make this work.
Would you have liked him to win though?
I think you always want your team to win, and I think if you're supporting a team and you don't want them to win, I think there's something wrong with you. I would have liked to win. I think 1-0 would have been nice. I think 4-5-0. This new manager bounce can often be counterproductive. But he basically just came out and said he hasn't had enough time with the players. Yeah. He also criticized, funny enough, Manchester United's media arm, saying he's spoken in more interviews since getting the job in 4 years at Sporting. And he says he realizes that it's a way bigger club, a way bigger league. There's way more interest, but he needs to spend time with his players. So talking the right talk, not the greatest result. But I think all in all, we have no other option now but to give this guy time.
No, exactly. I watched the game and in my opinion, you guys were lucky not to lose. I think Ipswich were the better team. You guys started well, and then Ipswich, completely the opposite to Southampton, can play out from the back, and they actually play really well. But yeah, I think, like you said, he was critical. He was critical of the football intelligence of a few players, which I think Roy Keane sort of baited him into that because that's his opinion. But that shows that I think if you look at this team next year, the exact same time, I think there'll be a lot of different players there.
I think so. And I think the one, you look at, the only thing you can kind of do is compare to the previous regime and try and, you're looking for, as a fan of the football club, as a supporter, you're looking for things that kind of vindicate the decision. And there are quite a few there already, which is good to see. He also made changes early on in the second half, which Erik ten Hag never did. He changed players that were not performing well, as opposed to changing players out of some sort of rotationary reasons. So I don't know. It's early doors. We have a really easy game on Thursday on paper against Bodo Glimt in the Europa League, and I think that'll be a nice chance for him to really just sort of test that system and just bleed it into the players, and hopefully we'll start to see some progress. Look, December's coming thick and fast. There's so much football, and I'm hoping that we can at least just stay within touching distance of the top four, because I think into next year, maybe after a January transfer window where he maybe gets, I think particularly a left back, the two wing back positions are really important in his system. If we can fill those and move some dead weight, I think you might see us maybe be able to mount some sort of Champions League spot run.
I agree.
Thank you, Klaus. Yeah, I think the tough thing for him is, or for any manager coming in the middle of the season, is that you have to win if you're at a big club while teaching your players something new, and United weren't winning beforehand, and you can see now why. It's going to take him some time. A lot of the players were on international duty, so looking forward to see how he does, because as a non-United fan, I also like the look of him a lot more than Erik ten Hag. He's more active. He's more like you. I think it's good to be that critical and just address things openly. And Jurgen Klopp also started with a draw against West Brom when he started. And then we did that dumb thing where we went to the stands and celebrated with the fans and were ridiculed afterwards for it. But it turned out okay with Jurgen.
I'm happy for you.
Nothing but joy.
Leicester sacked Cooper.
Surprising. I read today, which is breaks my heart. I read today that they're in discussions with Ruud van Nistelrooy, and it breaks my heart because Hamburg just fired their coach, and Ruud.
Oh shit! Did you guys also sack your coach?
Yeah, and Ruud was top of the list to replace him as a former player. So that's a bummer, but I think it's a great move for Ruud. I think it's a bit of a surprise, to be honest, from Leicester though, because they're two spots above the relegation zone. What do they expect as a club?
Don't you think it would have been a better move for Ruud to go to Hamburg though? In my opinion, I mean, just being in I know the pressure at Hamburg is also big, but it's the second division. You can sort of find your feet and learn more about coaching and managing a team.
I think so. I mean, but I think what he'll be telling himself, and at least what made him attractive, is, he definitely steadied a very, very bad ship after Ten Hag left, and he's also been in he's been successful in a head coach role at a big team before at PSV. So maybe, I mean, look, Hamburg's a massive club. You can say second division, not second division, massive club. I think it would have been a very romantic and fairy tale thing, but I think there's massive issues at Hamburg, and I think it's bigger than Leicester.
True.
And I think if he gets it right at Leicester, his trajectory is much
for sure
bigger than going to Hamburg.
He's already sort of found his way a little bit in the Dutch league. Quick word on Bafana. They played in front of a sold-out Cape Town stadium. They now qualified for the AFCON beforehand, but a dominant 3-0 victory against
South Sudan. Yeah, they had apparently one of our friends was telling us they had 84% possession for the game.
Yeah.
84%.
Wow.
And
South Sudan was second in the group, weren't they?
Yeah, they're actually not a bad side. And our friend Wayne was actually saying that, you need to do that too. You need to stop that team from having the ball for 84% of the time. And some young players coming through. Very interested to see how this develops. Look, I think AFCONs are also such open tournaments.
They are.
I mean, it's so difficult to predict. There's like any one of 7-8 sides can win AFCON. It feels like it, but
let's be honest. What we all really want is we'd love to win an AFCON, but we all just want to qualify for another World Cup.
Yeah, the World Cup would be the cherry on top for sure.
I think that's probably Bruce's target as well.
Yeah, and I think one can't underestimate the power of just continuously playing well, and because football is huge in South Africa. I think we underestimate, the level of the amount of money behind football in South Africa. It's ludicrous. The local league the sponsorship levels for the level of football that's being played is just crazy. It's hard to imagine. So there is potential there to grow the game.
Yeah.
Is there automatic qualification if you win the AFCON into the World Cup? It doesn't have any relevance.
No, you play in. Do they even still play the Confed Cup a year before the World Cup?
They do, yeah.
Yeah, you qualify for that if you've won the AFCON in the right year for it.
Yeah.
But the qualification for the World Cup is actually quite tough because Africa only, I think, has eight teams that go, and there's obviously a lot of competition. So it'd be good to keep winning, like Dom says. It's good to see them also scoring a lot of goals because Bafana never used to score a lot of goals in the past. And
my favorite stat from South African football is the highest ever goal scoring campaign by a striker in the PSL, which is the South African League. The record, guess what it is?
Oh, it's difficult for Klaus to guess. I'll guess. Because you asked this way, I'm going to say 20.
12.
Jesus.
Bernard Parker with 12 goals in a season.
There's players in Europe like Messi's difficult.
Like Haaland scores 45 goals a season.
Yeah. And like your average like striker from Burnley will score like 18 or 20.
Does that mean...
I almost fainted when I read the stat. I was like, this can't be true.
Our goal scoring, our finishing,
does that mean
good.
There's just no goal scoring? Or does that mean...
Scores are very low in the PSL, actually. I think since Sundowns came along, although I have to be honest, I did check the stat not very long time ago, but it was a while ago. I don't know if one of the Sundowns strikers, like a Billiat or something in the meantime, has surpassed it. But yeah, you don't see a lot of 4-0s, 5-0s. It's like... It's just generally just low scoring.
I was going to ask if maybe they sort of rotate so that the defender gets to score a goal, then the goalie gets to score a goal. And that way,
I want to check the stat though quickly before I lie to everyone.
No?
Your football analysis is second to none, Klaus.
Thank you. I appreciate that comment.
Let's go into something you're way more tuned in with F1.
Yeah, I didn't watch the race.
Didn't have to watch it, one.
George Russell won.
Yes.
He drove a pretty impressive race from what I gather.
Beat Lewis Hamilton, who came second, and then the two Ferraris. Came third and fourth.
For me, and then the other big thing is that Max Verstappen has now sealed the deal. He's the world champion.
He's the world
4
champion.
times over. So well done to him. But the other big news in that race, I think, was that Pierre Gasly did quite well for a team that's been nowhere.
Yeah. And for a guy who's got the voodoo of not damaging his car, hanging over him.
To then go and like really put pedal to the metal and get some points for the team. So that's pretty unexpected and pretty impressive.
I also just lied about the goal thing. So let's just gloss over that.
So what you're saying is there will have to be some heavy editing.
No heavy editing. The highest goal scoring campaign by a Bafana striker. So like a South African striker in the league.
Yes.
Playing for Bafana in that season is 12 by Bernard Parker. But there's been some Zambians and stuff that have scored some more.
Oh, it still doesn't make for prettier reading.
No, it's not good.
Right, so the Drivers' Championship is all sealed, but the Constructors' Championship is
wide open.
Busted wide open. Ferrari
really gaining some points there on McLaren.
Yeah, so I think there's 2 races left. They go to Qatar and then they go to Abu Dhabi. Right.
Vegas is a very interesting race in the sense.
It is a very interesting
it's
race.
quite quirky because they obviously do it on the strip and everything. And I saw some of the funniest shit. So apparently there's like a rule for that weekend that counts it. You're not allowed to stand still.
You're not allowed to because if you haven't paid to watch,
you
they don't want you to see any of the race. But it obviously goes through the middle of the city.
So I've seen these people like
people
this.
are just swaying the whole time.
There's people like there's escalators and guys are going down the escalator with their phones on and then up the escalator and
they're
can
literally
see
just going in a circle.
That's how they hacked it. But it's
apparently it also smelled like marijuana everywhere. I think I saw a comment by Max Verstappen that even he smelt it in his cockpit.
Well, he's Dutch. I mean, what's the problem?
So what have they got like the motion police running around making
They
sure that
literally
everybody's
do.
in constant movement? And then what you get
They're
fined.
all German. They're all from the Ordnungsamt.
And then you have to pay like a parking ticket essentially if you're standing still.
Well, I think you get shot. It's America.
Just take them out.
No, I think they just usher you along.
No, okay.
But it's
Another good reason to keep moving.
That's a very tricky one.
Essentially, if everybody just walks in one big circle around the track, you get to see the whole track.
No, well, I mean, there's
from every angle.
You're protected.
Yeah,
It's just
because they upgraded the those things as well. Back last year, they had like nets, and you could still kind of see through them. And this year, they just did solid metal sheeting, so that you couldn't see any of the race.
It's wild.
Unreal.
It's wild.
It's a weird race anyway because like these, I'm not a big fan of these street circuits. First and foremost, I find them too. They're too narrow, so you don't get as many overtakes. And then
Azerbaijan is okay, I think. But even
like
there,
Monaco's, I find it the most boring race of the season.
And it just got extended, for I think till 2030 or something like that. It's
just because of nostalgia and prestige, and that's
I think I think the amount of money that comes together there is probably quite big for Formula One.
So where the celebrities going to walk down?
What?
It's like the biggest gathering for the celebrities. It's a seen and be seen. Anyway, so as you said, the Constructors' Championship wide open. Something that I find really sad, but also kind of funny at the same time is, Carlos Sainz is moving away from Ferrari and arguably having the best half of a season ever. He's finishing really, really strong.
Yeah.
Then you've got Lewis Hamilton who's going to take his spot. It's going to be weird seeing Lewis in a red jumpsuit.
I think it does jumble it up and mix it up again, because I think that's also what Formula One always needs is a bit more news headlines, because in my opinion, and I'm definitely not a massive racing fan, but that Drive to Survive hype is starting to sort of peak a little bit, and I think now you're starting to get more people who are, if you're not proper racing fans, then you're not as into it anymore.
I think that Drive to Survive, they did the first couple of seasons were incredible. Then they started messing with the formula and started like faking controversy. Yeah, where people who had actually watched the races were like, "Oh, that's not actually what happened." They even went as far as to use clips from other races to create stories that didn't exist. And I think they got caught out, and I think that's also contributing to them losing legitimacy. But I must say, like the racing itself, like I'm not really that into it. But I do like the whole politics behind it. I think that's quite interesting, and so
since Gunther Steiner left, there's no Wummer anymore.
Fucking hell, Gene.
Fucking hell, you don't smash my door, you fuck, or something like that. Maybe lastly, a quick word on the cricket down under.
Ooh, yeah.
India playing Australia. I think India rafted them in the second.
Yeah.
Was the first test?
I think it's the first test. It was a crazy game of cricket.
Yeah.
So I think India got bowled out for about 140, and then they bowled out Australia for 110.
Yeah.
And then India made 485 and then declared, and then bowled out Australia for 100 and something again.
Yeah.
But
Bumrah.
yeah, and that debutant as well, the opener, he made 100 on debut in his second innings, albeit he made a duck and then 100. So yeah, I must say, and I've been seeing so much about it, the Australian broadcast quality of sport, particularly cricket, is unbelievable. There's even people talking and commenting about the resolution, and apparently Australian sporting broadcasts are one of the sort of broadcasters that push the envelope the most in terms of new gear and new tech. Also because cricket is quite a tech-heavy sport in terms of broadcasting. They are the leaders, and it shows. I mean, also the level of commentary. Unbelievable. I must say, I've been blown away. Unfortunately, David Warner's also started commentating. So
Saw him in a terrible brown suit. They looked like a used car salesman.
yeah, it's something he gave us something none of us ever asked for, but there he is. He can let us know what Quinton de Kock said to him there in PPE.
Still one of the greatest
Yeah, I
test
love
series.
it. And so unexpected for Quinton de Kock to be witty is those are two words in a sentence that
I don't
never
think he
thought-
was witty. I think it was
Just super crass.
Well, there was an element. I mean, he bounced back. I thought Quinton is more of a deer in the headlights kind of guy.
No, I think if you go to Kez, I think you've got to be
I guess so. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Great.
Ready to rumble.
yeah, ruck ready.
Yeah,
Otherwise-
so when you matric's the best 4 years of your life, then you tend to, you get.
I remember the first interview he ever gave when he was still playing for the Lions, I
Yeah.
think, in Joburg, and I was like, ooh, yeah,
yeah,
this definitely needs cricket to work out for him. And it did.
It did. Spiker. There's the best video ever of Quinton de Kock. I think he's baked out of his mind, or drunk, or both, and he's chilling with like a little buck, and he calls the buck. You have to watch it. Just look for it. It's so funny.
Yeah.
It's so good. But yeah, that's really good. Really good to see. Speaking of Down Under as well, there was some golf on as well. The European Tour has kicked off already. Yeah, and
Never ends.
Feels like it just ended.
yeah, the DP World Tour. And a special shout out, I have to say, a special shout out to Aldrich Potgieter, because he made his, the young South African, he got his tour card for the PGA Tour for the season and made his debut on one of the Premier Tours for the first time, was leading after...
He got his PGA Tour card or his DP World Tour card?
got his PGA Tour card through the
wow.
Corn Ferry Tour.
Oh, true, yeah.
Yeah, and he's so he was invited to Australia, and he finished 8th in his first tournament. So
Nice.
good stuff. Hitting the ball an absolute mile. It's going to be very cool to see him hopefully get some silverware for the South African contingent.
The only thing I was seeing about golf was, have you seen this challenge that Bryson DeChambeau is doing? Where he's
Hitting it
hitting
over
the
his
ball
house.
over his house.
Brilliant content, yeah.
I used to do that at home. I used to be able to flop shot it over at my house. Now,
How many windows did you smash?
I didn't smash one.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, I'd be absolutely
Well, now I'd
petrified.
be terrified. Although I'm not actually that bad because I'll chunk it, so it's not going to hit anything.
But he's on day 15 now, I think.
Yeah, 14 or 15.
Yeah.
He's getting close. I think it's tough because he's going to, I mean,
Well, it's a blind shot, right? You can't
Yeah,
see. I mean, he's
yeah.
got those massive windows,
Yeah.
so but you still can't see, and then it's just luck of the bounce, I
Do you
guess.
think it makes a difference if you can see or not?
I think from 100 yards,
Well, yeah, for aiming. Sure.
Well, I think he
he
knows.
picks a spot.
He's
Yeah.
got he picks a spot on the house and then he hits it over that. That green just doesn't look very receptive either that he hits
No.
it onto.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, I
I'd
think
love to have a green in my
I
own
would
backyard.
think like if you can see the flag, it's.
So why don't you hit it in the hole from 100 yards?
Because I'm
can
not a
see-
professional golfer.
No, that's true. None of
Why
us
don't you
are.
get it off the ground from 3 yards out?
Whoa, Klaus. What
Whoa,
the hell?
dude?
Yo.
Shots fired.
Hey,
Pang,
hey,
pang,
hey.
pow, pow.
Having
your
said
guns
that,
away.
I miss golf, but luckily we're playing in South Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now that my shoes are coming off,
Get out there in winter.
time to go ice skating.
I'm not going. That's
No.
too cold.
Well, I actually can't play for another month. So,
Can you work out again soon? That upper body?
well, my upper body, yeah.
Right, you still don't have a gym card though, eh?
No, I still need you guys to get that sorted out. Do you reckon your mate can hook me up with a? You know,
Don't discuss that on the open air. My corruption.
I don't know how many of your colleagues are watching our English channel.
No, there's actually not that many. Let's run through some players of the week. Has anyone got one ready in their head?
No.
I'll give it. I've mentioned it, but I'll genuinely give it to Aldrich Potgieter just because I'm excited about his performance down under. Was really good, and it was very rain disrupted. And for a 19-year-old to come onto tour and do that, I'm very impressed. So I hope he can continue it.
Mine goes to Mo Salah. Scored a double yesterday, and he's having his most successful season in terms of goals, in terms of continuity in a long time. It's very exciting to see.
My player of the week goes to Simon Ollie, my wheelchair pusher, who survived Liberia.
If there's any way we can verify that story, it would be great.
Okay.
Also,
I'll get him on the
Get him
phone.
on the horn.
Let's get him on the podcast.
Yeah, get him on the podcast.
Get him on the podcast.
Yeah.
Although he seems like he's a bit of a storyteller, so I don't know. Yeah.
He might dominate the airwaves.
We might have to do a 4-part series.
I will have to buy another microphone for the guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We've got new microphones, everyone. New. The other ones that we had that were new, they weren't really ours.
Black Friday special.
Yeah. The less said about consumerism, the better, though.
Bye.
What?
I think he's referring to the song. Oh, Backstreet Boys.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. That's it.
At least
Bada
you got my
bing,
heel.
bada boom.
Thank you very much for listening.
Yeah.
And we hope to see you again next week.
Like, share, subscribe.
Au revoir.